Good afternoon and good morning, dear ladies out there at the screens. I'm Marion Finney, as probably most of you know you. I'm very passionate for metals for more than 40 years now, and recycling, closing the loops in particular, are my passion as well. A warm welcome from here in Hamburg at the Aurubis site for our second Women for Metals Tea Time event after we kicked it off last year in London. But this event takes place today everywhere where you are attending, as this is a special year with all challenges possible both in our private and business lives. COVID-19 still occupies us a lot, lately even more again. It became obvious already quite early in summer, though, that a physical reception in London would not be possible. But look, oops, we did it again. A very special event today in these times. Feel embraced, all of you, by us here on stage, and enjoy the next 60 minutes with us. We want to involve you. So how do you feel? What about your energy level at the moment? Please grab your cell phones and open up menti.com and use the code 3928759, where we have the first question for you, which I just mentioned. How do you feel? What about your energy level? If you haven't done it yet, no problem. Simply open menti.com on your phone and dial in the entry code 3928759 and 9.
Yeah, thank you. And a warm welcome also from my side. As you might remember from last year in London, where we were in this great building and having this tea and toast, we are very excited that we can do it again virtually this time here from Hamburg. So my name is Angela Seidler. I'm heading the Communications, Investor Relations and Sustainability Department at Aurubis. And I'm so grateful also that we could continue this format, as in particular, the women's roles have been challenged quite a bit during this year and the last months. As we all have felt, females in leadership positions were even questioned in the public domain this year, even more than we are in other years, in normal years. And we at Aurubis, we just finished our business year, and with the acquisition of Metallo, which you probably read about, was a challenging for us, and we are very happy that we were able to increase a family. But in these virtual times, many of us, of course, had a special challenge in taking care of our children who could not go to daycare or school. We supported our children in their homeschooling, in still managing our professional lives. And I'm crossing the fingers here in Hamburg that the authorities will leave the school opens. So it is more than obvious that we need to join our strengths, and I'm so glad that we can greet you today virtually from Hamburg.
Hello everybody, also from my side. I'm Tanja Winter, and several of you also have met me last year or known me for a couple of years already. I am the head of sales for rod at Aurubis. And to make it very short as an introduction, copper is running through my veins. Today, we would like to take you with us on a journey of empowerment, as we will hear about personal achievements in the so-called men's metal world. We will receive notes from the chairman of the Elloumi board, Huey Evans, and a note from Andrea Vaccari, who is working with Freeport-McMoRan. Afterwards, I will moderate a FEMANEL, and we will discuss about sustainability, and we will take a new perspective on this topic. But let us first have a look on how you feel about today's event. So let's check the Mentimeter answers. Yay, that is what I expected. Positive, or maybe off the charts. So we are also very excited to have you with us, even though only virtually. And we are very glad to have Huey Evans again with us after her awesome keynote last year. This time with a pre-recorded note. And she's sharing with us the recap of her first year as the chairman of the Elloumi board. She will describe challenges and achievements, focusing on LME's work on sustainability topics and diversity. This year was certainly quite demanding for the LME as well. Great that you are now with us, Gay Huey. And everybody else, please enjoy her keynote.
Good afternoon. I am Gay Huey Evans, Chairman of the Board of the London Metal Exchange. And I'm delighted to be back here with you today and to welcome you all to Aurubis' second annual LME Week, Women for Metals Tea Time. A year ago, I had the pleasure of introducing this event during LME Week 2019, which seems like a lifetime ago given the year we have all had. I didn't realize then that getting to meet people in person was to be the exception. The virtual world has taken some getting used to, and I am looking forward to being able to meet face-to-face again. After all, a strong sense of community is a cherished aspect of life. And as I've come to learn, it's also part of the metals world. So while I'm thrilled to have been able to meet several of you last year, I am eager to meet more of you in person again once we are able to do so safely. I have been disappointed that I've not been able to travel to meet more of the LME's global communities. I was looking forward to visiting South America and China, where so many metals colleagues and friends are based, to discuss sustainability and to learn the business. Another trip that was sadly postponed was the Democratic Republic of the Congo. This is a significant mining region which plays a prominent role in the hugely important ESG work in the metals and mining industry. The LME has taken big strides in the ESG space with its responsible sourcing work and sustainability strategy. I am enthused by the work being undertaken by our members and stakeholders, particularly in technological innovation. These initiatives are illustrative of the dynamic pace of change in this sector, and we will be hearing more about this during the panel session later today. For now, I'd like to turn to another very important aspect of ESG, and for one for which I'm a strong advocate: diversity and inclusion. Last year, during LME Week, I hosted a panel at our inaugural Women in Commodities lunch, where we all agreed that a plan of action was needed to address the overall lack of diversity in commodities. Bringing more people from diverse backgrounds into commodities is vital. Since for business to truly innovate and grow, it needs to be challenged. I believe this comes through cultivating a workforce with different views, attitudes, and experiences, which can challenge the status quo and help us to avoid groupthink. So what practical steps have been taken? Now allow me to run through a few of the highlights I've been involved in this year at the LME. The LME has an active diversity and inclusion forum with a set of networks run by employees that focus on building and championing a diverse and inclusive workforce. A workforce that empowers its employees by celebrating differences can achieve great things. For example, thanks to our LGBTQ+ network, the LME became Stonewall Diversity Champions last December, ensuring that our colleagues are accepted without exception in the workplace. To support this inclusive culture, we have set ourselves targets to ensure we reach our diversity goals. The LME is truly pleased to have signed the Women in Finance Charter, committing to women accounting for 40% of senior management positions by 2025. To help us realize this commitment, we've embarked on a number of initiatives that focus on attracting and retaining women. We've extended our participation in the 30% cross-company mentoring scheme and are also setting up an internal mentoring program to support women's progression within the business. We've introduced gender-balanced recruitment practices, and all managers are undertaking unconscious bias training. We are excited to be launching a brand new apprenticeship program supported by our member community. The program involves taking on trading operations apprentices at the LME who will move on to member firms at the end of the program, with the overall aim of cultivating a diverse junior talent pipeline across the sector. This summer, we also partnered with the organization Code First Girls to sponsor a group of women to undertake IT coding courses. This is an area where, sadly, female talent is particularly low, and not just at the LME. So we are delighted to be able to provide the resources to train more women in IT-based roles. Evidently, while there's much work to be done, we in the metals and mining industry are now very much in the action phase. In the mining sector, which has struggled with a chronic underrepresentation of women, I was pleased to read that BHP recently announced that more than a quarter of its workforce are now women, and 50% of its senior leadership team are women. Such progress. What better place to celebrate our collective progress than at this event in LME Week, where we all came together for the first time last year to put a marker down that we wanted to see real action and real change. I am thrilled to be part of that, virtually or not, and even more thrilled to work with such a great group of women here today to help move that forward. So I'd like to thank Aurubis for hosting this Women for Metals Tea Time, and I look forward to meeting all of you in person in the very near future.
Thank you so much, Gay. This was a fantastic speech, which gives us a very good view on the LME's challenges this year. And we very much appreciate all the efforts taken on diversity measures. Really awesome. Now, we are almost getting ready for our panel, which we today call FEMANEL. I assume that we've all seen many menels during conferences and the like. So we are excited about this format of ladies only. And maybe it leads to seeing more ladies on panels in the future. We have a very simple question for you on our Mentimeter. Who hasn't logged in yet? Please use code 3928759. And please answer. From your perspective, is sustainability in the metals industry female? Let the answers fly in, while Andrea Vaccari, in charge of sustainability in the mining industry at Freeport-McMoRan, will give a statement on the topic of today from her personal experience and perspective. Enjoy.
My name is Andrea Vaccari. I'm the Director of Responsible Production Frameworks and Sustainability here at Freeport-McMoRan, where we're one of the largest copper producers in the world. At Freeport, we produce copper, molybdenum, and gold for global markets. We operate one of the largest copper mines in the world in Papua, Indonesia, as well as several very large-scale mines in North and South America. I've spent my career in mining and metals, and have worked primarily in sustainability, environmental, and operations. Last year, I had the pleasure of attending the inaugural Women for Metals event in London, England, during LME Week. It was an absolute pleasure to do something for women during such a typically male-dominated event. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really glad we're continuing here this year. It's a shame, of course, that we're virtual, but I'm so glad we're still able to do this. And in fact, maybe bring in many, many more women than we would have in person in London. Being a woman in mining has been hard, but it's been worth it. I've benefited significantly throughout my career from women in leadership positions and sustainability, as well as men in operational and corporate roles. Those people believed in me, and they continue to do so. I won't spend this keynote on the reasons why gender equality is so important and the case for it. I think the case for it is very clear, and I'm not an expert in it, so I'll leave the diagnosis of it to the experts. What I'm here to do today is to get us all thinking about why is it that women tend to dominate in sustainability roles in the mining and metals industry. Let's start with the statistics. If you look across the mining and metals industry today, you see that women are in about 10 to 20% of the roles, sometimes as low as 5%, depending on where you are. But if you look at just the sustainability roles in the mining and metals industry, you see the complete opposite, 80% women and 20% men. Why is that? Are we better suited? Are there specific traits that we develop over time, perhaps that we excel in? Or is it something else? Is it that the barriers to progression in the industry in sustainability are lower? Or maybe it's some combination of it all. When I started my career in 1999 with a then boutique sustainability firm, the directors were all men. I learned and grew with them, challenged them regularly, as I'm sure they would tell you, but they never treated me differently. But then again, we were a consulting firm. Our profit and loss statements were not about producing products. They were about delivering value to clients around the world. Then I discovered mining and became a lead on a large mining account and was lucky enough to meet my mentor. One of the first things that impressed me the most about her was her fearlessness. She was not afraid to speak up and say her piece. She was a scientist like me and blazing a now legendary trail in the industry. I ended up going to work for the company a few years later, and she constantly told me, just keep going, you're amazing, it will work out. Sage advice for someone who had just started working for one of the largest mining companies in the world, which was dominated by men. She is very recently retired, but thankfully remains a trailblazer on boards today. So then there I was at this big mining company in a corporate environmental role, which went fine. I honestly didn't think much about gender differences or equality at that stage. My boss was a male, and so was his boss, but they were very supportive. Then I started to notice a trend, that I was thought of as bossy or too assertive, that perhaps I was threatening and I should tone it down, that I must have progressed because of my relationships, not because of hard work or a vision for that work. But still, I continued doing my best, and that was recognized. But I still felt a subtle undercurrent. Eventually, I ended up working at site in an operational role, learning what that was like. I truly enjoyed the role. But what I found was there were so many different challenges than in my corporate roles. Looking like a woman was frowned upon by everyone, not just men. Being a mother was next to impossible with young children. The commute, mines are not typically located in convenient locations. So, you'd have a mother with a baby who would drop off their baby at 5:30 in the morning at a daycare an hour away, drive an hour to work their work day, then drive back to that daycare, get there about 5 or 5:30. That's 12 hours for a baby to be in daycare. It's a very long time. And if any woman needed to pump breast milk on site, they were looked at like they were an alien, which is crazy because it's a very natural part of being a mother or being a parent, providing food for your child. Now, I have to say, these challenges were not at all unique to that particular mine. Mines are rarely conveniently located, to date have not been typically known to provide daycare, typically don't have nursing rooms, although that's changing, which is great. There are also far more significant challenges at fly-in, fly-out operations, which I won't touch here. I have no experience with that, but I can only imagine the challenges. So as I watched and considered what I saw going around me, I finally needed to make a decision myself. Would I stay there and potentially forsake my chances of having children, or leave to start my life with my now husband and take a few years out of site life to have kids? I chose the latter and didn't return to site work. In fact, I went back into sustainability from operations because I could work as a consultant, which offered me far more flexibility. This is not to say that there are not examples of women that have been able to work at site and have small children and be successful. But I promise you that if you had a personal conversation with them one-on-one, they would tell you just how difficult it is, how challenging it is, you know, for their quality of life, the amount of stress that it can bring. And the success stories are not common. They're the exception, and we need to change that. But now, here we are in this virtual 2020 world, one where being physically at work has become a luxury. In many cases, it's not a necessity, and we're seeing that. 10 years ago, if you asked somebody if the majority of the workforce around the world, including several site roles, could work from home virtually, that a GM of a mine could run a mine from home, they would laugh you out of the room. So now maybe we have this opportunity. Maybe this opportunity is better than ever to try to find ways to balance, not just for women, but for men too that have small children in the workforce or other constraints, other caregiving that they need to do. What I see around me in general is positivity. There are organizations of women around the world. Women in Mining is one that I really want to mention. I'm a member of the local chapter here in Arizona, and honestly, the network that Women in Mining has created across the world to empower and lift up women, and also to include men in the dialogue, because without men in the dialogue, we're not going to be successful. It's fantastic. We also have Women for Metals, of course, this new platform that Aurubis started a year ago. While many have recently focused on the negatives of social media, I think there are a lot of positives for social media in the mining and metals industry for women. What it does is it enables us to connect in ways that we never have been able to do before. If you went back 10, 15 years ago, these platforms were just burgeoning, and they were really used for personal reasons, not for corporate. Now, or anything else, business development, now LinkedIn has become a great place to support each other and to connect these networks for women in mining, for Women for Metals, or others. You also have high-grade media and organizations like that doing these amazing specials on gender equality and really questioning the status quo. Companies, too, are taking the lead on this, and that's great to see, but we can't just have the leaders in the mining industry blazing this trail. We need to have everyone in the mining and metals industry doing it. I'm very proud to be co-chair of the Coppermark Advisory Council. The Coppermark is the first responsible production platform or framework for copper in the industry. One of the requirements of the Coppermark at sites for them to be awarded is gender equality. Not necessarily achieving it fully, but really striving to work hard towards getting it. And for that, I'm very proud. I am proud that the company that I work for has committed to the Coppermark at every single site we operate that produces copper, and I hope to see many more copper mines join us. So let's come back to the key question of why there are so many women leaders in sustainability. Why have so many chosen a similar path to me? Certainly it's not a compromise. I love what I do, so I don't want to make it sound like that. But to be a leader in sustainability, you have to be a driver of change. You have to be able to collaborate, and you have to build long-term relationships. You need to think very broadly across a multitude of issues, and you need to be okay with gray. And in some cases, a lot of gray and not a lot of data, and make risk-based decisions. Is it possible that our socialization as caregivers, mothers, sets us up perfectly for this type of role? As a driver, a collaborator, a risk assessor, and communicator? Or could it be that many women gravitate towards non-operational roles and sustainability is a natural fit because the barriers of traditional operational roles aren't there? We see this similar trend as well in other corporate type roles, finance, HR, communications. Could it just be that the barriers are less? These are questions that I and Women for Metals feel deserve some discussion. So we're very excited to have you here today, and I encourage you to stick around and be a part of the discussion in the second half of our special event today. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Andrea. It is such a great story and full of passion for this industry. I'm excited to share with you now the results of the Mentimeter question. So, out of 5, It's a 3.6, so very similar to the already announced 80% of female in the sustainability part of the metals industry. So that's for sure not a surprise. And also from our experience, there are not many women in this industry in leading roles. But once the topic sustainability came up, a lot of women are now in leadership roles, driving this topic forward. This is so great to see. But why might that be? And what can we learn from it to attract more women, also for other areas and functions, for more diversified teams? That, and hopefully more aspects, we will discuss here today. I would now like to welcome and introduce to you our 5 impressive ladies in our FEMANEL. And we made sure that we get a representative view on the supply chain. So firstly, Andrea Vaccari, whom you already met. Hi, Andrea. Then we have my colleague Kirsten Kück from Aurubis. She's been with Aurubis since September 2000. But she's been serving as our sustainability manager since 2014. In this position, she works together with the relevant group departments on sustainability topics in a very effective and efficient way.
Thank you.
Then we have Georgina Hallett online. She has been with the LME Group since 2012 and serves today as the Chief of Staff and Chief Sustainability Officer, where she plays a central role in all aspects of the LME's operations and strategic initiatives. She's also responsible for leading the LME's work on sustainability, incorporating LME responsible sourcing. Then a warm welcome to Myriam Elloumi, who serves as the Corporate Affairs and Business Development Director within the COFICAB Group. COFICAB is a worldwide leader in the design and manufacturing of electrical cables for the automotive industry. Myriam also serves as the Vice President for the Tunisian Automotive Association. Last but not least, I welcome Katrin Matias from Kpmg. She's the Senior Manager for Sustainability Services there. She's also based here in Hamburg, Germany, and works in the field of sustainability for more than 10 years as an auditor and advisor for sustainability-related topics, with a special focus on energy-intensive industries and supply chains, such as metal, energy, and chemical industry. I'm glad to have you all here. So, to the audience, if you are interested to ask a question, please do so by using menti.com as well. And we will try to answer the question during the following 20 minutes of the FEMANEL. But in the first round, I would now like to ask the other 4 participants, as we have heard Andrea's comments on it already. How do you see the topic of sustainability in your area of responsibility? Is it really a female topic? Kirsten, what do you think about that?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tanja. This is a really good question. And what I see in my experience after so many years is that many of my sustainability colleagues are having a variety of backgrounds, from scientists like me until a geographer or politician, are mostly female. As we heard from Andrea, the 80% fits very well. And they have been working in the company or in the sector for a very long time, for many years, and therefore having a very large network, internal as well as external. So, and what I see as very important is that they really enjoy to strengthen issues together, to work cross-functional. So, and I'm happy about bringing experiences together and about the common success, me and my colleagues. So in my opinion, it's all about, or mostly all about, cooperation and communication. And if you ask, is this female? I think not necessarily, but it's more the passion for cross-functional thinking and acting.
Thank you, Kirsten. Georgie, from the LME, what is your take on that?
Thank you. Yeah, well, I agree with everything that Kirsten has said. I think those are attributes that women tend to have in common. I mean, from the LME's perspective, obviously we're part of the metals and mining world, but we're an exchange rather than a miner or a fabricator. So I think it is slightly different. And actually my experience of exchanges has been that they tend to be very good. The LME's gender balance is actually pretty even. Where we struggle is in the technology or IT department, and that's why we've done this work with Code First Girls that Gay mentioned, because we're conscious that that's an area where we're still not strong enough. But generally speaking, exchanges seem to be perhaps a more welcoming or female-friendly environment, certainly than investment banks, and possibly than metals and mining as well. So I think, my experience there has been extremely positive. But, sustainability, while it may attract a lot of women to it, it has got to be a global effort for it to be really successful. So I think, as Andrea mentioned, we need men involved too if we're really going to make proper progress. And that's why the male allies are so important.
Thank you, Georgina. And Myriam, as pretty much a representative of the automotive industry, how do you see it in there?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, okay, in our field, mostly the responsibility, the people responsible with dealing with the sustainability topic are mainly coming from, it's shared duty that you find in many departments, but all in all, it's more or less 50-50. And today I have to say that it's a topic that is extremely trendy, and many people are very keen into dealing with these activities, and so we face more or less 50-50 share between men and women. I mean, everybody wants to get involved, and the initiatives are attracting many people.
Thank you, Myriam. Now, Katrin, you're also a bit from a different perspective, coming from auditing. How do you see that question?
Yes, thank you for the question, Tanja. And I also agree with the statements said before. That's, of course, a very sustainability should be a diversity matter. So it's not only the female perspective, but the perspective of a diverse team to drive on sustainability issues. That's very important. But from my experience as an auditor, and I'm in the profession for like over 10 years now, and I've encountered many different clients and many different setups. It developed really towards a very higher female degree of counterparts or contacts and partners we serve with. When I started, it was also in the auditor part a very male-dominated field in terms of environmental auditors and energy auditors in a very technical profession, and that opened up a lot. And I see from the younger colleagues we get now in our company that it's much diverser, and also the backgrounds needed for sustainability audits and assurance is becoming much more diverse. It's not only a technical or an engineering background, it needs a lot of things coming together, and I think this opens up a lot for many different skill sets, which is not necessarily related to male or female, but I think the diversity is really a key matter.
Yeah, agreed. It is a very holistic topic in a way. You can take it from so many different angles. And Andrea, you were actually providing two theories in the video. One is the traits we have as women, and the other is that there are far fewer barriers for women in sustainability roles. Or perhaps that is the combination of the two? I think Andrea's muted.
Welcome to virtual 2020. My apologies. Yeah, I think, I have my own experience, obviously, that I can bring forth, but I feel that if you look at it from my experience, certainly it's likely to be a combination. Certainly in my background, it's a combination of the two. I think certainly the way that girls are socialized from a very young age, typically, the way that we do tend to be socialized as caregivers, and that we do tend to, as a result, probably develop these traits that are very well fitted with sustainability, right? Being holistic, thinking about risk, keeping things, safe and secure. you know, and taking care of children or our parents. And so I think that those traits are probably very much in line with sustainability, but I would encourage, you know, the world to socialize men to do similar things. I mean, I think it's very much, as you said, it's this issue of diversity. Gay pointed it out in her speak. We don't want to have groupthink. Well, just as much as we don't want to have groupthink on the mining and metals side with male-dominated roles, we don't want that to happen either with female-dominated roles. But I do definitely think that the two things are driving the success of women in this industry and sustainability.
Thank you, Andrea. Myriam has already mentioned how trendy the topic seems to be, or definitely is, and we are all surrounded by it, I guess, on a daily basis. Myriam, how do you see that development? And do you have a wish list for your suppliers or business partners in general?
Well, traditionally, as you know, sustainability used to be for many years mainly a financial topic. It was mainly the health of the business, basically. As we know, for many years now, when we talk about sustainability, we talk about the planet, the product, and the people, which are I would say, the three main dimensions. So over the last years, we witnessed significant increase of the environmental regulations, protocols, and standards, which are directly impacting many industries, among which the automotive industry. So although this is very difficult and becoming harder and harder for the automotive actors to comply with it, it is fortunately or unfortunately mandatory to comply with all these regulations, protocols, and agreements on our entire activities and products, and we must request the same approach in the entire value chain. So as a tier 2 supplier within this automotive industry, it's our duty to develop greener products and work proactively on innovative technologies and new solutions with less environmental impact on their entire life cycle. It's only by presenting such greener products to our customers and the OEMs that we'll be able to distinguish from the crowd and impose more sustainability in tomorrow automotive technologies. So on top of that, we must actively look for the most sustainable and efficient working methods and processes and align our business strategies to such new automotive market trends, which we call ECAD, so which is the electrification, connectivity, and autonomous driving. So we need to define the related environmental policies and set up ambitious targets aligned with these international requirements. So it's only by doing that that we can achieve complying with such requirements, which are today mandatory, as I already mentioned. And of course, we must promote all activities that goes in line with that, directly and indirectly, and also beyond borders. So as far as the wish list for the suppliers and the business partners is concerned, of course, we can only try to cascade all that I already mentioned. So, of course, it is mandatory to keep working on reducing the CO2 emissions that are coming from the transportation and the processes. So by introducing renewable energy, using innovative technologies, and always try to reduce the environmental impact of all of our activities. Of course, we can only encourage you also to work on promoting the use of recycled copper and as well as alternative raw materials, and work and keep working actively on the development of new technologies to allow such use of recycled copper and in different applications. Yeah. The suppliers are committed to continuously improve their sustainability profile with sustainability supply programs, including all the environmental requirements on products and services.
For sure.
And it is, of course, necessary to promote the sustainability in communication and with transparency on over all the value chain. And of course, last but not least, it's important to stay open and work in collaboration with all the supply chain about the eco-conception of final products to be able to be more efficient and achieve always more sustainability. I encourage you to share these difficulties together as well as the best practices in order to achieve that, and of course keep working on the development of alternative conductors, more efficient in terms of conductivity and also more environmentally friendly.
I also think, and I mean, there's different initiatives, we've heard already about the copper mark, that focus on such topics, also on the responsible sourcing part. And here in Germany, we have a discussion regarding the Lieferkettengesetz, so the supply chain law. And Katrin, what do you think about that, and how would you, or what would it take to audit that? Maybe you can quickly or shortly explain what is behind that to the international audience.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the Lieferkettengesetz, it's basically called the Due Diligence Law, as it's now called. So it's tackling, but it's basically relating to prevention of human rights violations in global supply chains or in Germany settled companies. This is in discussion right now. It's not in place yet, so it's basically discussed by the government and how it will be installed and implemented. But it focuses very much on risk assessment on human rights violations in global supply chains. That's the focus, and the focus is on thriving empowerment before sanctioning. So try to analyze risk issues in the supply chains, evaluate measures to overcome them and to mitigate them, but not to basically withdraw in the first place. It's an ongoing discussion, as said, and of course from the audit profession we're watching it quite closely and how it can be audited. I think one of the major issues will be to have the data and the fundamental knowledge on how to really assess the risks. Because, as I said, it's human rights violations and it's about things that are not spoken up openly. And this is an important part, and also for the audit itself. But how it will be audited, I think that's still in discussion. From my point of view, it's really important, and that's also a cooperative approach you need, because you need a lot of information along the supply chains from suppliers, from pre-suppliers, first tier, second tier companies that will give another impact on how communication and data collection in the supply chains will be. So this is, I think, one major point for the preparation, and how it will really be installed. That's a big question mark still, but one thing that's coming up for sure.
Thank you very much, Katrin, for those insights. And we have quite many questions coming in from the audience. I think Angela is sharing them with us now.
Yeah, thank you very much. And actually a lot of questions here, and I try to select a few. Do you think that men were not interested in the sustainability jobs because it was not taken seriously enough? If you look now to climate change issues, the dialogue is again dominated by men.
So in short, the question is, if I understood it correctly, whether in earlier times the topic sustainability wasn't taken serious enough by men. But because now, recently, the discussion is again dominated by men. So maybe, I don't know, Georgie, would you have a view on that? Or you already mentioned that in the LME that was different, I think, and Matt Chamberlain really drives that topic.
Yes, so it's a really great question, and especially interesting for someone like me who is, I think, compared to a number of people on this panel, relatively new to sustainability, comparatively speaking. But yeah, so, and actually maybe it's relatively new on our sort of market role for the LME, because we only begun to look at responsible sourcing in terms of rules and regulations in 2017. But, you know, we've been interested in sustainability from a broader perspective for much longer than that. And in fact, Adrian Farnham, who's the CEO of the LME Clear, which is the LME's clearinghouse, has been our diversity champion for some years now. So he sits on the board of LME Clear and LME, and obviously is the CEO, so he's about as senior as it gets for us, and really championed that. A number of the initiatives that Gay mentioned earlier were championed and pushed forward by him, and it's really his support that has enabled the LME to take such big strides in developing our sort of diversity and inclusion agenda. So, you know, I think it's probably fair to say that it depends on the man, rather than being a sort of general thing. Yeah, it's an interesting concept that now sustainability is becoming trendy, to use Myriam's term, whether the men are going to try and muscle their way back in and take over our roles. I don't think that will happen. I think we've all been working on it for too long now. And there's enough work, frankly, to go around. So the more the merrier from my perspective.
Good, thank you very much, Georgie. I see we are already quite, long in the call. So I would like to take up one more question from the audience, which I think is primarily one for Andrea. How sustainable is the mining industry? Is it still destroying landscapes, polluting rivers, child work, and so on?
I think the industry has come a very long way in the last 2 decades. I think we see a lot of examples around us that are incredibly positive, as I said in my keynote. You know, the very example that Gay gave of BHP's success in really lifting up and increasing the percentage of women in the workforce. If you look at things like the Copper Mark, you look at the Aluminium Stewardship Initiative, you look at responsible steel, you know, all of the schemes that are coming up now. You look at the great work that the LME is doing on responsible sourcing requirements and sustainability requirements, and now the platforms for trading of metals with sustainability aspects in the digital passport. I think that mines of today look very different than they did 20, 30 years ago. I think technology is now playing a hugely leading role as well. And I think that's fantastic. So I think we've come a really long way, and I think there's more to go, but I think there's definitely been a lot of positive progress.
Let me just add this basis, this common understanding and this commitment to work together at systems you just described, Andrea. I think that's the A and O. Let's say that's the most important thing. Now to come, or we still came to the common understanding to work out these systems together. That's the solution, I think, for the question.
So I'm looking at our technical colleagues. Do we have time for one more question? Yes, good, then. There's one more interesting question from the audience, besides all kinds of others that we will not have time for today. I'm really sorry about that. But do you think, so that's the question, do you think that the ways in which companies have approached the E and S of ESG, so environment and society, right? Social, historically, which has been led mostly by men, has meant that women have seen a better way forward as they have no past. So meaning women, if I may translate that to what I understand, women came into these roles at a later stage, and therefore they were so much focused on the future since there was no past that they could rely on or always refer back to. It's not an easy question.
Yeah, but may I?
Yeah, sure,
yeah. It's really an interesting question and interesting perspective to take on that. But I think what I experience right now, that sustainability is becoming such a broad issue that's basically trickling into the finance, into business development, into many other areas in the company. It's getting another momentum right now. And I see that many people in the sustainability area, which have been doing this for a long time, were accustomed a bit to be in a certain niche, and maybe also not, being quite passionate about what they're doing. But I think now it's opening really up, and I think people see there's a lot of innovation going on, and of course other people draw on skills from sustainability, which is a great place for us as sustainability experts or people in the field to be, because it's asked and it's important to put on our views, and we should use this because we have, that's my impression, that it's basically the way looking forward and not so much into the past, holding on to what it was.
Yeah.
The status quo.
Very much, yeah. Thank you very much to our great FEMANEL participants. We unfortunately already have to close that session, but not, of course, before I ask you for any last comments or messages that every one of you would, in a short way, pass on to our audience.
I'll just offer quickly, because I know we're short on time. I think there are two things that we need to work harder at. One is, once we get women into mining, keeping them in mining, because like I said in my keynote, the barriers around the childbearing years or the caregiving years in general are incredibly challenging when you're in an industrial environment or a mining environment. And then the other one is, I think I would just encourage us all to be authentic. Don't model yourself in the frame of what you think that the industry thinks you should be. Let's break those molds. Let's be ourselves and be diverse and collaborative teams.
Yeah, fully agree to that. Any further comments? So thank you so much for taking part, really. Highly appreciated and such a nice discussion. So as stated also by Gay in her fabulous keynote today, sustainability thoughts also involve diversity. So it's up to all of us, no matter whether we are female, male, diverse, different heritages, cultures, ages, or sexual orientation, to ensure a diversified collaboration. I trust that we can all agree to this based on what I've heard so far. But it is obvious that we're fortunately seeing more women in our industry today, sure, but certainly still less in operational or commercial leadership roles. And I personally believe that the stereotypically female traits help more in other fields, which is okay. But still, I would not underestimate, to be female, use your female traits alongside some more stereotypical male behaviors. Andrea mentioned also figures. Or I think we should be fine with being sometimes called bossy or simply competitive. It helps if we start to own such character traits and allow ourselves to live them, be proud of them, and support other women in being successful with them. And I do love Andrea's statement on how we women should celebrate each other more, and that social media helps with it. It also helps us to be seen as role models. So I would like to ask that question to the audience. What can we do? What are your ideas how to support, promote, and celebrate many more women for metals? This is where we have our last Mentimeter question for today. So please just fill in one word or a couple of more words. Let them come in, and a cloud will build where we see the major thoughts. And while the Mentimeter input is coming in, we will now listen to Karin Hübner-Giebels and her path with metals. We consider her video as a kickstart for some more videos or introductions of female colleagues coming in after today's event. We would love to get to know each other better by sharing short introductory videos on our LinkedIn page. Katrin is sharing her way in metals with us that has led to her current role as a purchasing manager for resin, a zinc smelter in Luxembourg. Enjoy.
Hello, my name is Katrin. I'm a full-time account manager purchasing for zinc, for resin, the zinc company, and wife and mother of a 7-year-old. How I came to the metal industry, it was pure coincidence. During 2009, I was made redundant in the economic crisis, and one day a headhunter phoned me up and told me about a job offer at ladylike for buying or purchasing zinc. And I thought, what a crazy thing to do, but I forwarded my CV and I got the job interview, and then I got the job. And I felt at the beginning quite alien to be the first woman being hired for this position in the history of the company. But, well, to say it with Richard Branson's word, when you are offered an amazing opportunity and you don't know how to do it, then take the job, say yes, and learn how to do it later. And what can I say? I fell in love. My background, I studied international management in English and German, took on Italian as a second language, lived in Australia and Italy for a year each. And during my Metallwerk Dienstlaken times, I was forced to take on French. And it's still a story of love and hate, but to say the truth, my language always did swing it for me, and that's how I found the job in Luxembourg, where the official office language is French. And yeah, the passion for my job is always has different bullet points. It's still a people's business. It's about being a specialist in what I do. It's about sustainability, recycling, and the environment, even though it's an old economy business. And last but not least, it's about learning. It's a constant learning process still. So, Women for Metals, we all agree that networking is an empowerment tool for everybody, especially for women. And I hope, with Women for Metals, it gives us the opportunity and the capacity to share certain values and our potential. And foremost, or plus and foremost, I hope that we are all a role model for younger females to come into our business. So thank you very much and have a great day.
Katrin, thank you very much. What a great video. Thank you for taking the lead and being the first. And we really hope that we are getting to know other Women for Metals in the future. Let your videos come in. Now, let's have a look at the Mentimeter results of what you think we can do more. Wow. First and foremost, collaboration, equality in childcare, no man bashing, for sure not. And the men need to open up, more different role models. Yes, this is also one of the main reasons why we created Women for Metals, to step out maybe sometimes of our comfort zones, to make ourselves seen so we can be taken as role models. Thank you all for your input. And we will also try to find a way to take up the other questions that came in the Q&A. So, what a great discussion we had in our very first FEMANEL, and the inspiring inputs during the videos. So, Marion and Angela, what are your key takeaways from today?
Well, actually, my my key takeaway is, Tanja, we need more FEMANELs. And I really love this word. I love this wording. And I often found out that we need more self-confidence when we are asked, do you want to participate in a panel? Because we see not enough women on panels sitting. And if you get a question, do you want to participate in a panel? Women always ask, well, I don't know if I'm the right one. I need to do some research on the topic. I don't know. And all the men are saying, well, yes, of course I'm participating. Well, maybe 1 hour before you tell me what the topic is. So please let us be more self-confidence. We have something to say. We have to contribute. So please participate in panels that we at the end have more FEMANELs.
Yeah, very much. And Marion?
I can only add to that. I think that is a really key thing to have women like Katrin who take the first step and to do an introductory video like this, that we see today. But I would like to think we have 50% men in the world and 50% women in the world. So we should have all 50-50. And in all kinds of business environments, we should also have the 50-50 thing. Also on child caring, of course. And we need you guys. I think that is definitely something I would like to add as well.
Yeah, so thank you very much, everyone who joined virtually. Gay and Andrea for her inspiring keynotes, the FEMANEL participants, Katrin, Kirsten, Myriam, and Georgie, and Tanja, of course, for the lovely moderation. Thank you. It was a pleasure. And the introductory video of Karin. We would indeed be glad to see many more of such being posted or on our LinkedIn page. Last but not least, we have to thank to our colleague, you can't see him, David here, who did a great job during the last days here because we had a LME reception virtually as well. So it is a lot of effort. We are all doing this for the first time and really appreciate your job and the job of your team, all sitting here in the back. Yeah, hope to see you next year in person. Don't know yet, but well, life is changing and we have to look on the bright side of life.
Yeah, we hope to see you soon. I mean, we don't know what COVID-19 is still doing with us, so we can only sincerely hope that we will be able to see each other again in 2021, be it on any of the function, on CRU, on Fast Markets Conference, on CESCO dinners. Maybe there is Freeport-McMoRan able to arrange a function there, whatever. And maybe next year, on the occasion of the LME dinner, I would really love to see you again in 4 Hamilton Place. That is to be seen. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and please stay in touch with each other, with us. We will be grateful for any feedback of you and ideas on Women for Metals. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.